I'm really excited that we're going to do this podcast together.
Well,
You're not nearly as excited as I am. I can tell from the look on your face. It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. Hello, my name's Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm the dad to 6 daughters, the author of 6 books about raising happy families. And, well, we're changing the podcast up, starting right now. We've had loads of great feedback about the Parenting in Perspective podcast. People have enjoyed the interviews, although I have to be honest, some of the feedback that I've had has been a little bit, shall we say, well, some people have said that we talk a little bit too much. In fact, the complaint has been, I don't have time to listen to the podcast. There's just so much going on in my life, and these long podcasts, these Parenting in Perspective interviews, are just not quite working for me. So as much as we've loved the feedback and the reviews that have come through that have been extremely kind, I want to be responsive to you, and I want the podcast to be real. I don't want it to be this exercise in academic interviewing or something like that. So we're going to make some really significant changes, and I hope that you love them. The first thing that you need to know is the podcast is shifting. It's now going to be, well, fingers crossed, a daily podcast, and it's going to go back to very much being the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. 10 minutes max. In fact, sometimes we're going to try to make it even shorter. Today's, well, we're going to stretch our way all the way to 10 minutes, but I'll tell you why, because we're going to have a lot of fun. And the reason for that is I'm not going to do this podcast on my own anymore. Instead, I've got a co-host. I want to introduce to you somebody that I think is going to light up your days every single day that you listen to this podcast. I think that you're going to have so much fun listening to her and her insights. This is a person who I have admired for decades, and I'm so honored and so excited to be able to introduce somebody who I simply adore as my co-host for the Happy Families podcast. Her name is Mrs. Happy Families. It's Kylie Coulson, my wife. She's agreed. Kylie, welcome to the Happy Families podcast.
Thank you very much.
Now you're in the hot seat. You've never been in this situation before. I'm the former radio announcer. I'm the guy that gets up on stage, and I want to ask you a handful of questions about your role as a mum and your role in this podcast. Without notice.
I'm a little bit scared.
I've got my list in front of me. And Kylie's like, before we started, she's going, "You're going to show me the questions, aren't you?" I said, "No, I want you to answer them just as." Anyway, here we go. So Kylie, you're in the hot seat. Question number 1. I think this is actually the hardest question for you to answer. I'm going to start with the big one. You ready? Why did you say yes? Why would you do a podcast with me? Why did you say this would be a good idea?
Well, one of the things that I have loved over our time together as friends, firstly, and then husband and wife, is the fact that we just do everything better together. And so I was really looking forward to having the opportunity to work alongside you.
Oh, my heart just went flutter. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. Here are the parenting questions, okay? Because this is a podcast for parents about parents and parenting. So this question is a pretty simple one, I think. How hard is it being married to a parenting expert?
Oh, in the early days, it was really, really, really hard because as a mum or as a young woman growing up, wanting to be a mum, I really thought like I had a handle on what it was and what it would take to be a mum.
Okay, so and not just that, I know I'm interrupting you, but so you've got this biological innate sense that you know how to be a mum, but you also had early childcare qualifications, right? So,
yeah.
And I was a lousy dad.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but there was room for improvement.
Okay, so how hard is it being married to me? Why was it hard then?
Well, as you started to develop and hone in on your skills and your passion, it became a passion for you to want to be better at being a dad. It was the most important role, and that flowed into being the best husband that you could be. And so it really drove everything that you did. And as you would come home and you'd see me flustered or upset or frustrated with the children, and you'd kind of try to coach me a little bit on what you might be able to do, like what I might be able to do better. I used to really get under my skin because I was like, you're not here. You don't see what I'm doing all day, every day.
Yeah, it's like you're coming home and telling me how to do this, but you haven't been here for the last 3 hours going through hell.
Yeah. So it was really, really frustrating in the beginning. And then
do I still do that?
Yes.
Oh, no, I can't believe that you said that.
Yes. Yes, you do.
But
But I've learnt something
yeah, what's that?
in the nearly 20 years that we've been doing this together.
Parenting, raising kids.
parenting,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. It's more than that. It's 21. I'm just saying.
Wow, that first year while she's still incubating was a very easy start to parenting.
Yeah, so what have you learned?
I've learnt that more times than not, you're right.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that? I can't believe, I'm enjoying this podcast a lot. Okay. So, but that doesn't really, so in the early days, it was hard to be married to me because you didn't like that I actually did know stuff and you thought that you were supposed to know it. Now I'm telling you to do it differently. What's it like now? I mean, I know that you love me like crazy. We adore each other. So, but what's it like actually being married to the guy that writes the books and stands up on stage? And then, I'll come home sometimes and, I'm not actually the parenting expert that I say that I am. Like, I have moments, right?
You do have moments. And I think one of the great things about the relationship we share is the opportunity to bounce off each other. And for the most part, when you're having a bad day, I seem to be able to pull things together and vice versa. So,
and I have to pull things together much more often, let's face it.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. All right. Next question for you. Which of our kids do you love the most?
Oh, you can't ask me that.
Come on.
Well, at least I'm not going to say on,
Right.
on a podcast.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. Next question. Funniest or favourite memory of any of our kids? Just a memory that either cracked you up so much or that you just think is such a favourite memory.
My all-time favourite would have to be one of our children. She comes into our bedroom every morning without fail and wants morning huggies with her hot mama.
Yeah. So we've got one particular child. We won't mention which one it is, but from the time she was a baby, one time she got into bed. And in fact, she did these two things. First of all, she's got this smell thing going, right? So
she inhales me. She sticks her nose right into the crook of my neck and she just inhales me.
And she'll always be like, you smell, and she'll tell us what we smell like. And usually it's good. You smell beautiful. You smell like this or you smell like that. Every now and again, it's not so good. But most of the time, and she's been so attuned to smells. But this particular day, she got into bed with you and she goes, you're a really hot mama, because it was hot under the blankets.
Yes.
And you've gone, you're a hot mama. and she still says it. This is my hot mama. I think that's so cool. I love that. All right, my next question for you. We've only got a couple to go because we need to make sure that this is a podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now. And people want these answers from you, by the way. What's the trickiest thing that you think that you've faced as a mum?
Learning to let go.
Let go of who or let go of what?
Learning to recognise that our children need to have the space to make their decisions for themselves, whether they would be decisions we would make for them or not, and giving them the space to do it and love them in spite of the decisions they make or because of the decisions they make.
Yeah. So that's kind of, it's not such a big deal when they're young. I mean, sometimes it's hard to let go when they're young, but you're speaking specifically about as our kids have gotten older and they've started to live their own lives and they haven't always wanted to make the kinds of decisions that we've dreamed and hoped that they would make.
Or even just wanting to include us. As our children get older, they want their space and they want their independence, and there are times where they want space from us. They actually don't want us so involved in their lives, and that's been hard.
Yeah, okay. I'm really grateful that you shared that. Now, I've got 3 more questions and we're pretty much out of time, so we need rapid fire answers, okay? This one might actually sort of overlap with the last one, or you might have a completely different answer. What's the most challenging thing that we've faced?
I think it does overlap.
Same thing?
I think it is the same.
See, I would give a different answer. I would say that the most challenging thing that we face is the day-to-day grind.
For a split second when you asked me that question, I had a vision of being stuck in a hot car in a car park with a child who wouldn't put their seatbelt on regularly.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Yeah. Okay, last 2 questions. What's your perfect day as a mum?
That would be an early start down at the beach.
With the kids?
With the kids.
Okay, all right, just asking.
With the kids and just watching them explore their surroundings, and you and I walking along the beach holding hands.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a perfect start to the perfect day as a mum.
Yeah. We don't usually get much further than that.
If we even get that far, we've done well, let's face it. Last question for you. What's your favourite age to have a child? Like, we've had children from obviously brand new right through to our 21-year-old. Favourite age? I
think that's really, really hard because
some of them are lousy at a certain age and others are great at that same age.
But I have to admit, I have always, obviously with my early childhood background as well, I've always been drawn to that kind of preschool, first year of school age, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. They're just so inquisitive and so excited about life and everything that it has to offer. And I love that.
Yeah, well, our baby's 6 now and at that age, and it's pretty adorable. It's pretty hard to take. It's that good. I'm really excited that we're going to do this podcast together.
Well,
You're not nearly as excited as I am. I can tell from the look on your face. Guys, we really hope that you enjoy the changes that we're making. And we hope that you feel like you're part of the family. That's why I wanted to interview Kylie this way today, so that you could just get to know this wonderful woman that I call my wife, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie Coulson. She's going to be co-hosting from this point forward and joining in on the Happy Families podcast. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy what we do, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. It's your reviews that help people to find the podcast and have happier families. If you'd like more information about how we can help your family flourish, happyfamilies.com.au. Click on the button that says memberships and you'll get loads of great information there. Or find us on our Facebook page, Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.